My parents are the best. They're the best. Like you can't ask for anything better than what I got.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Teen Talks. Susan is laughing her face off right now. Daniel's laughing as well. But we're very excited for today's episode because we have a special guest. Daniel, would you like to introduce yourself and let everyone know who you are? And yeah, just go for it.
Yeah, hi. My name is Daniel. I have known Rehan since grade one. He's essentially my childhood best friend. And just a little bit about me, I'm 21 years old like him. I'm 2 months older than him, actually. And I'm in my fourth and final year at Western University, which is a school in Ontario, and I'm finishing my degree in accounting. And right now, I'm pursuing my chartered professional accounting designation. My passions are sports, music, numbers like I'm an accountant, and conversations. That's why I'm here. And my goals, some cool things is my end goal in life is to own my own sports franchise, whether it's an NFL team or a fifth division club in like Macedonia. I don't really care. I just think it aligns all of my passions and interests together. And I think I'd be really good at it. Now, how do I get there? I'm going to need a lot of capital to own a sports team. So I think my plan right now is I want to own my own business. I've always wanted to do that. And I think I'm heading towards kind of creating a marketing and networking agency for artists. Kind of
Ooh,
interesting there.
wow. So many wonderful like hopes and dreams. That's amazing.
Yes, I'm a big dreamer, always have been. A little delusional, you could say.
It's
We love
okay.
it.
That's where the good stuff comes.
Yeah, I could even say Rehan kind of inspired me in that because I watched him like as a grade seven just leave the country, leave his parents, and go to France to pursue his dreams. And he was always passionate about them and very almost stubborn towards his dreams, like you know, kind of like a horse, getting ready for a race with the blinders on, just go, go, go. So I've been able to watch that and draw inspiration for it and allow me to dream too.
That's great. Well, I hope you two can be that for other younger kids that are trying to figure it out. That's
That's
awesome.
that's the goal.
Appreciate it.
So Rehan, why did you bring him on here? I know he's your good friend, but you saw something special to bring him on here. So
Yeah, Daniel. So, as Daniel said, we go way back. We go way back, and him and I have always, been close. Whenever I go back to Canada, we always reach out to each other and we always try and hang out. And him and I have had really good conversations together. We have shared a lot about our stories, and ultimately, Daniel is one of those people who is ambitious. He wants a lot for himself. He has a lot of dreams. And I think that he has a very interesting perspective when it comes to not only life, but just this journey that we're all on. And I've had the opportunity to go to Daniel's house many times. I have witnessed, the amazing family dynamic that he has with his family. And I just thought that he would be a good addition to this podcast as someone who can share those insights and share his story and yeah, just provide a bunch of value for all of our listeners and watchers. So yeah.
Yeah,
awesome.
I hope to do that today.
So sounds like you had the amazing parents.
Yeah.
So what does amazing parents look like? Let's go back to say maybe when you were being brought up as a little kid in first grade or even before first
Yeah.
grade when you met Rehan.
Yeah.
What was your family life like? What would you guys do?
For sure. Well, first and foremost, I'd like to put it on the record that my parents are the undisputed goats. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about that. They are legends. They will forever be for me. I love them so much and I appreciate everything they do. And I just really try to take nothing for granted that they have done. I think it would be too
Every parent's
disrespectful.
dream to hear that. Oh my gosh, yes.
But yeah, so I guess more about my family dynamic. So I have two younger brothers, and we're all a year and a half. So I guess the middle child, he's a year. I'm a year and a half older than him, and the younger brother's a year and a half younger than him. And I guess since I was young, I was always really smart. Like my grandma would always call me Einstein from 1 years old. So I would love reading and I would love math. And so my parents really early on as a kid would give me a lot of material to kind of fuel this passion and desire for learning that I had. And immediately though, I could kind of notice the difference that the way that they approached me versus my brothers. I think they
Wow.
always kind of naturally believed that I was more gifted and they were just kind of like, I guess, more average. I mean, I guess I'm looking back now, I don't like again, I don't really remember any of the context, but I kind of wish maybe my brothers they kind of gave them that sort of push. I don't know if they would have responded to it the same way. That's probably why they didn't do it. But it would have been interesting to see maybe if they had that approach, what could have happened with them. But that's all just ifs and buts. And a little closer to grade one, I was always kind of like a big troublemaker at school.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that I was just an innately, I was a bad kid. It was I was a smart kid, and if school didn't stimulate me at all, like I was gonna find other ways to stimulate me, and that usually just involved like disrupting the class or just like going on to do my own thing. But that kind of intelligence I had, I feel like I was always able to critically think. From Rehan's laughing in the background because he knows he has great memories of this just dumb things I would do. And but yeah, anyways, back to what I was saying is I think I was always able to really critically think from a young age. And because of that, I would challenge authority because they would try to say things to
Mm,
me, get me to do certain things. And I could kind of understand the why behind they wanted me to do it. And if I didn't agree with that, I was going to just naturally rebel. So that's always kind of who I've been. I've been very stubborn. And I've had to grow up and learn through that. And my parents definitely like had that was their biggest challenge was trying to get me to just kind of comply with school. Like my dad was like, "Dan, like you're super smart, but your grades are gonna get lower because you just drive your teachers crazy. Like they don't want to be around you." Like dad, like I'm just being myself. Like that's not my issue. And I found it. I guess sort of some teachers really loved that and respected that about me, and I had
mhm.
really great interactions with teachers. And other teachers just hated me. They couldn't deal with me at all. They thought I was too much of a chaotic. They didn't know how to like hold my energy into the right place.
Yeah.
That was really the thing. And yeah, I guess from from
Those were
there, like
your magical teachers, the ones who figured it out. Those
yeah,
are magical teachers.
they were. They understood that I wasn't a bad kid again. They
Yeah.
just knew I just wasn't stimulated, so they found ways to
Yeah.
try to lead me to it. Like I think one big example in my mind was my Rehan and I's grade two teacher. She was really good at that for me, Madame Cloutier. She knew I was a smart kid, but she knew I was going to end up, if she wasn't going to give a little extra effort to me, she knew I was probably going to bring down the whole classroom. So she just tried to bring me up to her level, and she succeeded.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was always the thing. It was I could bring people, I could go up to somebody's level, or I could bring the teacher down to my level. And
Yeah.
that's usually where the conflicts would arise when the teacher would stoop to my level and start arguing with a grade four, like a grade four.
Hmm. Yeah. No,
And Daniel,
I taught academically talented. I changed the name because I couldn't stand saying gifted and talented because it was like there's people gifted in other things.
Yes,
You just happen
exactly.
to be gifted academically, right? In
Yeah,
the brain. And
yes.
I taught them for 14 years and it was the most amazing experience ever. It's
Hmm.
brought me to where I am today,
Yeah,
teaching the kids and seeing all the potential they have. And if they get directed in the right way and you stimulate the right areas, they can do
yes.
amazing things.
Absolutely, absolutely. Susan, I'd like to ask you this because I feel like this happened a lot to me. But when I was younger, because I was academically intelligent, I think my emotional intelligence lacked. Did you see that in your experiences too?
Most
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah,
yeah,
most definitely.
yeah,
Not with everyone, but yeah, there were some kids that I would work with because I would work with them from second grade all the way through sixth.
yeah,
So I saw the whole
yeah. Mhm.
spectrum, and the ones who struggled, they were like beyond smart,
Yes,
like so smart. They were the highest ones on the test.
yes,
They were the ones who oftentimes were most challenged socially. Yes.
yes. Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
yeah.
So
Rayhan,
interesting.
you were gonna add something there.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask because as you were going through like I guess the phase of, rebellion, quote unquote, when
Yes.
it came to your teachers and stuff when when you were at school, how did your parents help you out with that? Like, because you have some parents, for example, like when a kid gets in trouble, they'll ground their kids or they'll take away their phone or they'll do things like that when they get in trouble. What are some of the things that your parents did to kind of not keep you in line, but to just make sure that they were doing what they could to help you through that journey?
Great question.
Yeah. So I think that my mom and dad took different approaches. I think that's kind of important. I think it's important that like your mother and father kind of play a different role and dynamic, and they kind of figure out that role before they approach you. It's
Mm.
kind of like maybe a good cop, bad cop situation.
Mm.
But basically, like my dad was always like, no, you need to, he was always hammering, like, it's on you, self accountability. I don't care what the teacher did. I don't care what any classmates did. You're responsible for your own behavior and your own actions. And I know you're smart and I know you can be an upstanding citizen and you can demonstrate good behavior. So I don't want to hear your excuses. Like, go to your room, you're grounded. And until you want to fix your behavior, this is what's going to happen. This is what your life is going to be. My mom, on the other hand, so my mom is an HR person and she did her degree in psychology. So she was always very interested in the way people thought and trying to understand their perspectives. So she would always sit down and kind of talk to me about it. Like, what did the teacher do? What did the like what do the other students or my peers do? And I feel like that was important. Like I was good. I needed that support from my mom, and knowing that somebody was hearing me out. I feel like if my dad had also done that though, I think I would have been like kind of delusional and thought I could get away with anything, and maybe
Mm.
would have even like manipulated my parents a little bit in order to get out of trouble. But being able to have kind of those two conflicting things where my mom was more supportive, was more or less open to hearing me, and my dad was hammering in that accountability. I think they were both two very important messages that I got. And I think that's kind of just how they learned to balance that approach to steer me
Mhm.
on the right path.
That's
Mm.
really interesting that so you think that they were on the same page, they just had a
Absolutely.
strategy. And I think that's amazing. I mean,
Absolutely.
have that as a wonderful dynamic and something that parents, if you have a spouse to really strive for.
Yeah, no, they were always a team. Like they told me their secrets. Like they would say, like we would chat before, how are we gonna approach you? Because they knew who I was. Like they knew I was smart, and they knew if they weren't on their toes, I would get them. Because they like my objective whenever I kind of got into trouble and an argument with my parents, my objective was to win. Like I thought, okay, this is a debate. Like I'm gonna win this debate. Like I'm gonna out logic them, and then I'm gonna get out of the trouble because they can't argue with me. So they learn, okay, we're gonna have to be on our toes. We're gonna have to really know our stuff, or else this kid is going to just walk away scot free.
And you know what I think too, Daniel, is even not the gifted and talented brainiacs out there, other kids, that is their goal, is to
Yes,
win. That is
yes,
their goal,
everybody.
is to win.
Yes, I think
You know?
everyone wants to win. It's the best.
Yeah. And especially as teenagers, they want to win,
Yes,
right?
yes, for sure. It's like you're very self-centered as a teenager. You think your worldview matters the most, or your problems. So yeah, you want to win. You kind of want to prove your parents that okay, like I'm old enough, like I know what I'm doing. Like I know I'm on the right path. I'm making the right choices. Like I don't need to listen to what you guys are
Yeah.
saying.
And I also love what you said. Your dad was more like, I mean, he was kind of laying down the line, but I like how he made you accountable. He
Yes,
didn't say, just fix this. He said, no, you're accountable for your actions. You take care
yes,
of it.
yes, and
Not
that's a
me,
yes,
you.
yep,
And
and
I
that's
think
some
that's so important because I think so many parents will sit there and try to take it on like themselves
yes,
to fix it. But it's not them
yes.
that fixes it, it's you. And it was a great way he said that. I love that.
It was, and it's one of the like kind of the most important foundational pieces to me now. Like I believe truly everything in life that has happened to me, it's my responsibility. No matter like how out of my control it might seem, there's some decision I made along the line, kind of like the butterfly effect, you could say, that put me in that situation. That's why that thing happened. So I think when you learn to take a like just self accountability. You learn to put everything on you and you messed up. I think you really learn how to grow from that. You learn how to solve your own problems. You realize everything is in your hands in life. And if you really want something to happen, you are the one who can change it. You don't have to wait on anybody else to.
Yeah,
Love it.
It goes both
we
Love it.
ways.
we
I
talk
think we
about this
need to
all the
have you talk
time.
to our teenagers too.
Yeah.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
problem. No problem.
Yeah, we talk about this all the time, this idea of being in control, right? You're in control of your actions, your reactions to things, and your
Yep,
thoughts and everything. So you can literally create the life that you want for yourself if,
absolutely.
that is what you want. You just have to take control. You have to hold yourself accountable and do what you need to do, no matter what's happening around you. No matter what other people are saying or doing, it's up to you ultimately, right? Um, Daniel, I want to pivot a little bit. I want to pivot a little bit because we know we've talked about the whole parent dynamic and everything, but I want to talk about you as a teenager. You and I actually never grew up during our like together during our
Yeah.
teenage years because I left when I was
No, we
13,
didn't.
and so
Yeah.
I wasn't able to witness your upbringing as a teenager. But I
Yeah.
would like to know, I mean, teenagers can be hard for quite a few teens.
Yeah.
And teenagers go through different challenges and setbacks sometimes. But I wanted to know, like, what were some of those challenges for you? And I know maybe looking back on them now, you're like, these were, opportunities for you to grow and stuff like that. But, maybe in the moment they were challenging
Yeah.
and, you had to really claw your way out to get out of those situations. But just, yeah, what were some of those challenges that you faced?
So I think definitely the biggest challenge I faced, I touched on this a bit earlier, was developing my emotional intelligence.
Mm.
So kind of my perspective was always, I get super naive looking back on it, but I used to think, so I was a very honest and genuine person. And I was always naturally an overshare. Like I probably shared way too many things that I shouldn't have shared with people. And it kind of ended up biting me in the back. But and but I would say like I would believe people would be honest as well. Like everything that they'd say was their honest and genuine opinion. It wasn't influenced by anybody else. It wasn't them trying to get something out of me or somebody else. I just thought everybody interacted like me. And I learned that is the furthest thing from the truth. Nobody is like me. Somehow I'm the anomaly here. And so I had to learn how to navigate being this honest person and genuine person and kind of putting myself in vulnerable states with people and not
Mm,
having them kind of take advantage of that. So I had to learn to still be this honest because I still want to be an honest, genuine, authentic person. I think that's the best way you can connect with people. And I've been able to have some amazing connections with people because of that. But I've learned how I had to learn where to be vulnerable with people, how to be vulnerable with people, which people to kind of choose. So that was a big learning curve there. Um, and 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 also when it comes to me being an overshare, I would say a lot of things that like I'm a big jokester, so I'd make a lot of really dumb jokes, maybe sometimes inappropriate jokes that got me in trouble a lot or offended people. So I had to learn to kind of learn the crowd, examine the crowd, learn how to learn how to interact with them rather than no, this is the Daniel show and you guys are just witnessing it. So enjoy. You guys get to just witness this greatness. I learned to try to interact with these people a little bit more and try to like put them myself in their shoes and like so that my message could get across the way I want it to get across.
mm,
I
yeah,
wonder,
that
were you considered a popular kid or in high school maybe?
Rehan can answer that for you, I think. I guess
yeah.
so. Like
Yeah.
I've always just talked to everybody. Like I've never been shy. Like I kind of just talk to everyone, get to know them. And
Hmm.
yeah, I think I've been a popular kid, I guess. Like elementary school, high school, and even in university, I do know a lot of people. But I've never been someone with 2,000 Instagram followers or anything like
Yeah.
that popular. It's more like I just know everybody just from talking to them and just making kind of genuine connections and genuine conversation with them, I
And
guess.
I'm guessing that you're so interested in the other person that
Yeah.
they're the focus, not you. Right. And I think
Um,
no.
Sometimes I think sometimes I have a focus towards me. Like I'd say a lot of times I like to talk and share my own experiences in life, but I think
Ah.
that's kind of my way to relate to you. I kind of like to share, like if you're talking, you're sharing something about yourself. I kind of like to bring my own experience and bring my own anecdotes to the table, and
Hmm.
maybe we can find a way to connect through that mutual experience.
Okay, well that's
That's
good.
always
Yeah.
kind of, yeah,
But you're a good listener, I bet.
yes, I think so. I think in order to be a good talker and a good conversationalist, you have to be a good listener.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think even if especially when we were talking to our teens, but parents are listening too, but not everybody's as outgoing as
No,
Daniel. There's
no,
other kids like I was really kind of shy, but to remember that what people want to connect is that you care about that other person, right? You try to
yes,
find what it is you have in common, that's what's going to attract people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like my younger brother Eris, he's the middle child. He's the opposite of me. Like Rehan can tell you, he's quiet. All my teachers growing up, he would be the year behind me. So he'd go into the class. They just had me and they're like, "Are you
Oh
anything
no,
like
here
your
comes
brother?"
another one.
Yeah, here comes. But then after 2 weeks, like, "You're nothing like your brother. You're the complete opposite." So my brother was the quiet, introverted kid, and he was always good at making connections with people by just listening. Like he's one of those people, he doesn't have to say anything in a room, but you'll feel his presence just because he's kind of listening and acknowledging what you say. I guess he allows the talkers like me to just talk and share what they want to say. He's probably a big reason why I'm such a talker because he's always down to listen when we were kids. If that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Did he now? So not different dynamic, totally. So what about him? Did he make friends easily? And
Yeah. He
yeah,
always made friends easily. My mom always used to worry, like, oh, Eris, like, he does not making friends like you or whatever. And I'm like, no, mom, it's different things. Like, me, I'll have more like friendships, like were they really friendships or they were just like me and these guys hanging out just because we hit it off about basketball or something like 2 weeks ago. Whereas I think
yeah.
Eris was more strategic and he was better at maybe choosing his friends to start. Like he knew who the real ones were that really like looked out for him and cared about him. And
Mm-hmm.
he kind of more attracted people. I'd say I chased people to be my friends. He would attract people into his life, and he was always very good at that.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody does it differently, and I think that a lot of our kids out there just think oh, I got to be this way, this way, this way, and it's not.
No.
Be authentic.
Yeah.
Be
Be your
yourself.
way. It's the easiest thing to do is just be yourself, do it your way, because that's you understand that the best.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
100%.
Daniel, where does
Now you
where does
mentioned,
that come from for you? That sense of authenticity of wanting to just be yourself. Is that something that you think you were born with? Is that something that was developed over time that your parents helped you? Like where did that come from?
great question.
It's definitely both nature and nurture. Like my mom and dad are both that way. So I definitely got their genes. And then I was raised in an environment where I saw all of that. Like I got to see like my parents growing up. Like I played baseball and one time I had this coach who I was the best hitter on the team and he put me in the bottom of the order every single game. And we were 8 years old. Like the point of it, you're supposed to rotate people around, get them to all learn. And so my parents, like I got to see at 8 years old, they went up to my coach and they lit him up. Like there was a couple other kids that dealt with the same issues. Their parents weren't outspoken. They didn't want to say anything to the coach. But my parents went on the behalf of me and the other kids who felt like they were treated poorly. And they went out and dealt with the problem. So I guess I kind of always share that as well. I've
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
always seen that. I've always wanted to kind of make my opinion feel heard. I've never been afraid to share my opinion. I've never been afraid to go after what I want. So it's definitely a combination of nature and nurture there.
Mm. Okay, good. Now you brought up a little bit about your brother and you. Now there were three of you.
Yes.
So being the oldest of three, how did that dynamic work? Now we know you are the gregarious one and your middle one is shy. What about the
Yes.
third and how did that whole dynamic go?
So Steph, the youngest, he's kind of like me too. Like he's like the more I grow up, the more I realize like, oh my God, like he's actually me. And as we were younger, I rejected that idea. Like I never wanted to be like my youngest brother because I always thought he was so annoying and stuff. And
Just like you were.
truthfully, yeah, yeah, just like me. Like I know I was definitely very annoying. Like if I had an older sibling, they would have hated my guts. But as as the oldest, I felt like everything was my fault and my responsibility. A memory that I have that kind of brings that up is I remember one time Steph, the youngest one, hit me over the head with a metal golf club, and I pushed him back because I was obviously angry, and I got in trouble for retaliating. Bring that conversation up to my parents, like, what were you guys thinking? Like, the guy could have killed me or concussed me. Thankfully, like, nothing really went that bad. Like, how did I get in trouble for that situation? So it felt like it didn't matter what I could do. Like, I was always going to get in trouble whenever there was a conflict between me and my brothers. It also didn't help that with school, I was always the one who got in the most trouble. So I was the easy one to always blame. So I
Ah,
accept that. I accept part of that was me. And I've had conversations with my parents kind of about that.
mm-hmm.
And And it was interesting because I think my dad admitted to me that he definitely sided more with my younger siblings and gave me more of the responsibility, and he kind of apologized me to that for me for that. But I look back, it is what it is. Like this has shaped the man that I am today. And I guess
Hmm.
like I needed this. Like it was, I guess the universe or God's plan, whatever you believe in, they put that obstacle in front of me for some specific reason. I
Hmm.
don't really know what it is. I'm just kind of glad it happened. Again.
Yeah.
Now that's kind of more the negative side. Now more on the positive side, I realize now only really recently how big of an influence I was on my brother's lives.
Mm.
And that's something I took for granted as a kid. But I guess always being outspoken and smart, like my brothers always really looked up to me. They saw me at school, I guess, being this like popular kid too. So they always kind of wanted to be like me and emulate me. And I wish as a kid I knew that more, and I was more of a
Mentored
role
them.
model for them and mentor
Yeah.
them. I don't think I did that. I kind of rejected that. I didn't want to do that at all. Now I'm starting to do that. And now it's kind of difficult because I guess their whole childhood, they wanted that and I rejected them. And so now they're like, nah, dude, now you're coming around. Like, get out of here. We're not doing this.
Oh, it's interesting. Wow.
It's funny, right? I mean, you reap what you sow, I guess. So
Hmm.
I guess I deserve that in a way. But they'll always listen to me. And I know I've always got them. Like, those are my two brothers are 100% the people I know have got my back no matter what for my whole life. Like they're
Hmm.
my ride or dies. Like I will love them forever. They're two of my best friends. And I think my parents are a huge reason for that happening. Like they force us to be together so much as kids. Like whenever I would be hanging out with my friends, like Rehan could tell you, my brothers were there playing with us, hanging out too. Like there was no way that they were ever going to separate us. They always wanted us to be like a strong team and to have each other's backs for the rest of our lives.
That's great. Yeah. Now you touched on a little bit that you felt like like you were given all of the things to, to keep your brain stimulated and all that, and you felt
Yes.
like they didn't do that with your brothers. So
Yeah.
do you think that and now you kind of think maybe they should have? You think so they treated you differently?
Yes. Maybe. I mean, when they were younger in their formative years, when they got older, actually, they left me to be independent when it came to my work because they knew I could get it done. And then they would like put more attention on helping my brothers. Like they would tutor them in math or English or whatever it was. So it kind of pivoted. I'm just kind of wondering in my head, maybe if you had, you know, pushed the reading and the math more like when I was really young, like, and I'm talking like 2 or 3 years old, that's what my parents were doing. If maybe
Hmm.
they had more of that in their age, maybe the same result would have happened. But again, it's too hypothetical for me to even think of. There's too
No,
many things.
yeah. And maybe you just needed that, and maybe they didn't show that they needed that too. So,
Yeah.
that would be an interesting conversation to have with your parents. Why did you do that for me and not them? And maybe they did it in different ways. They might have seen other gifts that they had that they nourished, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I do need to have that conversation with my parents, maybe
Hmm.
understand more of their perspective on things. I think they probably remember they'd be able to tell me something.
Yeah. I just
Yeah.
think as parents, we need to remember that. I mean, I had my first kid, and then 6 years later, I had my second. I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
God, the second one's totally different than the first one. How did that happen?
Yes.
Then I'm like, I
Yeah.
have my third kid. I'm like, well, this one's got to be like one of the other two. And no, totally different, right?
Totally
And
different. Yep.
and I think we need to remember that each kid is unique and individual, and they might have traits that are similar, but sometimes we need to play to their strengths, play to their
Absolutely.
strengths as parents and give them what they need for them.
I
And
think maybe
sometimes we don't.
yeah, I think looking back, maybe I'm not giving my parents enough credit for that and playing to my brother's strengths versus mine. I think I'm
Yeah.
probably just looking at too much of a Daniel centric view.
Yeah. I can see Rehan as a burning question or comment in there.
I'm curious because it's like you have your upbringing seems like, even though you would describe it as like almost perfect, if you can even use that word. You really, when you look back on, your upbringing and everything, you know, it's a lot of positive. There's a lot of
Yes.
positive there.
Yes.
Um, and it means that your parents did something right.
Yes, they did. 100% they did.
Yeah, and which is why, like, I think for any of the parents who are watching now, obviously this is to be taken with the consideration that everyone is different, every family dynamic is different. But Daniel, if you were to give any advice to any parents of teenagers, especially, what
Yes.
advice would you give them?